Something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
All right, coming to you live from the heartland, not too far from Detroit, of course, and kicking off another brand new day here on the Steve Gruber Show, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom. Which always makes me ask you, who do you want in your foxhole? Who do you want in your foxhole? Okay, we're burning daylight, so we need to roll right into it today. Number one of the three big things. Remember the old man first arrested as the possible killer of Charlie Kirk? Turns out he did that as an intended distraction. But now it's gotten a little bit worse for him. Police found his phone filled with child porn. Uh-oh. Number two, over at ABC News, one of its reporters is taken by the love story of the Charlie Kirk assassin and his transgender boyfriend. He thinks it's sweet, I guess. And number three, insanity running rampant in America. And look, this is all new to me. It is. I don't game. I don't know anything about these back rooms. But there's these dark back channels on the internet, Discord servers, Reddit threads, popular platforms among preteens and teens in America. I guess it's all new to me and frightening, frankly. If you're a parent like I am, this is a warning. Do you know where your children and grandchildren are spending their time? Because they could be getting groomed into delusion and violence in their spare time. The most recent case in point, of course, Charlie Kirk's shooter, who confessed his actions on a pro-trans Antifa militant Discord server. I mean, it's all in there together. It's this soup of evil, I guess, with about 20 or 25 people he was in there. Let me dispel the many myths, by the way, being peddled by those on the left about the killer of Charlie Kirk. All right, listen to this. All right, we're going to get to that. That's the prosecutor in the case. And he says this is a far-left activist, a far-left Discord activist, and not just a lone wolf. A man who lived in an echo chamber made up of people indoctrinated just like him. Let's try this again. FBI Director Kash Patel on the investigation. All right, I'm sorry about that, folks. We're having difficulty here. We're going to work through it. Charges have been brought against this man. Many charges. Facing the death penalty as charges formally announced. Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray said that Tyler Robinson being charged, including aggravated murder. The murder of Charlie Kirk is an American tragedy, he said. As county attorney, he's charged with bringing justice to those who offend our laws. Say that again. In addition to aggravated murder, the charges announced by Gray include 2 counts of obstruction of justice for hiding the rifle and discarding his clothing, 2 counts of witness tampering for instructing a roommate to delete text, stay silent, 1 count of committing a violent offense in front of children. Gray also filed a notice of intent to seek the death penalty, meaning the defendant will remain in jail without bail. He said, I do not take this decision lightly, nor should he. A decision has been made independently as county attorney based solely on the available evidence and circumstances and nature of the crime, Gray said. Look, here's part of the exchange. All right, we're going to get back into this now. I want you to hear from the prosecutor directly. Here it is.
I am filing a criminal information charging Tyler James Robinson, age 22, with the following crimes. Count 1, aggravated murder, a capital offense, for intentionally or knowingly causing the death of Charlie Kirk under circumstances that created a great risk of death to others. Count 2, felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, a first-degree felony. The state is further alleging aggravating factors on counts 1 and 2 because the defendant is believed to have targeted Charlie Kirk based on Charlie Kirk's political expression and did so knowing that children were present and would witness the homicide. I am filing a...
There you go. And the list goes on and on and on. Straight up evil. How do we deal with evil? The prosecutor plans on taking it as seriously as he should. Here's what he's going to pursue. We're going to go with bite 14. Here's what he's going to pursue.
Following the press conference, I am filing a notice of intent to seek the death penalty. I do not take this decision lightly, and it is a decision I have made independently as county attorney, based solely on the available evidence and circumstances and nature of the crime. Because we are seeking the death penalty, the defendant will continue to be held without bail in the Utah County Jail. Following the press conference.
All right, now, what I want to do is dispel those myths. I want to go back to the comment we missed here a moment ago. I want you to hear this because there's so much disinformation flying around on the internet. It's really important for you to hear the backstory. Here it is.
It has been leaked that there was a Discord chat, and for those unfamiliar with it, it's a gaming chat room online that the suspect participated in. So what we're doing, we've already done, is serve legal process, not just on Discord, so that the information we gathered is sustained and held in a evidentiary posture that we could use in prosecution should it be decided to do so. And we're also going to be investigating anyone and everyone involved in that Discord chat.
Okay, very good. I see the public reports that the Discord thread had as many as 20 additional users. It sounds like you're trying to run down all of that to see if that's accurate, who else may have been on that thread, what they may have known. Is that fair to say?
It's a lot more than that, and we're running them all down.
It's a lot more than 20?
Yes, sir.
And you're running all of that to ground?
Every single one.
Yeah, fantastic.
Every
It has
single
been
one.
leaked that there was a Discord chat.
Every single one, they're gonna run it down. And for your information, by the way, as they run down this, it's hard for me to believe sitting here that there was no knowledge beforehand by any of these people, right? All these conversations, they always have a trail that they leave behind, always. And then there's this exchange, several exchanges on Discord. Apparently you can text in there, right? It's a place where you can text in secret, basically. There's this whole text thread. We're going to get into this after the break as well. Back and forth between the killer and his lover about, you know, what I did and how it happened and how long it took. Seems very conveniently written as to excuse his lover from all of it. We'll have that coming up as well. We'll be right back. All right, back to it now. Look, all of these things flying around on the internet, all these left-wing influencers, and they're all in my stream. Lucky me, but I follow all these people so I can get the balance of what's going on out there. Saying that this is a far-right conservative kid, a MAGA kid, right, because that would make sense, right? A MAGA kid killing Charlie Kirk makes no sense whatsoever, of course. Not logically, not anything on any level. So here's what the prosecutor said to dispel all of those myths. Listen.
His mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views. In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU, which Robinson said was a stupid venue for the event. Robinson accused Kirk of spreading hate. Robinson's father reported that when his wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter in the news, he agreed that it looked like their son. He also believed that the rifle that police suspected the shooter used matched a rifle that was given to his son as a gift. Robinson's mother explained.
Yeah. There you have it. There you have it. Leftists all over social media, you have been debunked. Jimmy Kimmel, last night, leading again, saying that Kirk's assassin is MAGA. It's a lie. It's not a conservative individual. It's an individual that was angered by Charlie Kirk's position on political issues that he didn't align with. And that's the bottom line. But the leftists over social media ran out there. He's a white male, gun fetish. There were fake photos, old Facebook posts with his mom when he was a little kid. They were foaming at the mouth for the possibility, but it couldn't have been further from the truth. Robinson's family raised him in a conservative home, yes, but his upbringing was apparently no match for the insidious garbage that brainwashed him on the internet. Listen to the prosecutor again. I want this to be driven home. Listen.
Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views.
Yeah, very different political views. But how did his father deal with it? How does his father deal with it? With that difference of opinion. He engaged his son in conversation with reason. Had a discussion, but how did Robinson, someone flooded with online fanaticism and hate, deal with the difference of opinion? He murdered somebody. He murdered a father of two. His parents asked him why he did it. Why'd you do this? Here's what they were told.
When asked why he did it, Robinson explained there is too much evil and the guy, referring to Charlie Kirk, spreads too much hate. When asked why...
So he murdered him. The pinnacle of fascism. The pinnacle of, they're fascist. The pinnacle of fascism is murdering somebody so you don't have to hear what they have to say. Murdering them so you don't have to hear their opinion. That is the pinnacle of fascism. Tyler shared a similar response with his transgender partner. When he asked Tyler why he did it, Tyler responded, quote, "I had enough of his hatred. Some hate cannot be negotiated out." No remorse. Texted his partner, "You're all I worry about, love." Well, it was his partner that turned him in, so maybe that didn't work out. Robinson was so thoroughly indoctrinated with left-wing extremism that he came to believe Charlie's dialogues with young Americans were more dangerous and hateful than murdering him. It's not just Discord servers and Reddit users doing the indoctrination. We've been warning about this for years. educational institutions. They have blood on their hands. Listen to this student's experience at the University of North Georgia. She's reading a passage from her required course reading on public relations. Listen to this.
An internet search produces the following modifiers for identity: corporate, sexual, digital, public, racial, national, brand, and even Christian. A US-based white supremacist group.
Christians. Stop.
I'm pissed. So
Stop.
I would just like to say that.
Christians are a white supremacist group in America now, according to a textbook in college. They label you Nazi, fascist, white supremacist, and then act surprised when Charlie Kirk gets murdered in public by somebody who has consumed that garbage in mass. That was a course on public relations, not some fringe Marxist fan club. A normal public relations course. Folks, that's insanity. Tyler Robinson wasn't some incoherent, crazed, schizophrenic, drugged-out mental case. This was a political assassination committed by a mentally fit young man who carried out this atrocity for no other reason than his political views. This social media user says he knew the shooter in high school, agrees that Robinson's time on the internet pushed him to become a killer. Listen.
I definitely saw him for like 3 straight years in high school, and the best way I could describe him is just like a Reddit kid. I don't know, I feel like if you were in high school around that same time, and even probably now, like 2018, and then like, you know, those kinds of kids, but that's exactly what he was. All I'm going to say is this is the kind of shit that happens when you spend way too much time online.
There you have
and
it.
all of a sudden your beliefs are all the way this way or all the way
Too much time online. Boom. Even his own grandmother said to the FBI over and over, you've got the wrong guy. He's a quiet kid. He'd never do this. Quiet kid indoctrinated with real hate, genuine hate, murderous hate, evil lurking in the shadows, my friends. We'll continue the conversation in a moment. I'll be right back. There's always something that you look around. All right, back to it now. Glad to have you here. Look, do you remember the old guy, you might have some B-roll of him, Nathan, but I don't need the sound. The old guy that was first arrested there after Charlie Kirk was murdered. There was a scuffle. There's an old guy in handcuffs. Now, not exactly. His name was George Zinn. He told an officer that he was glad he said he shot Kirk so the real suspect could get away. Remember, he said there, shoot me. He wanted to be a martyr for the person who was shot. Well, bad news for Mr. Zinn. When they took him into custody, they took his phone, of course. And when they looked at his phone, they found it filled with child pornography. So Mr. Zinn is going to jail too, not for being a martyr, not for intentionally slowing down the search for the killer of Charlie Kirk, but for just being a general pig. I guess that's fitting. You're trying to protect an assassin and you get caught with child porn. That seems convenient to me. Anyhow, so talk about karma, right? And how many people have lost their jobs? A lot, because of terrible things. You have the right to say whatever you want, but your employer does not have to put up with it. If you own a business, I'd be real careful, because they're coming after you and saying, we're not going to spend money with you. A brewery here, Berserk Brewery in Holland, Michigan, the latest to put up just hateful things. It's all over the internet this morning. I think that was the name of the brewery, Berserk, something like that. People are all over it. Be careful. If you want to be, bankrupt, go for it, I suppose. People have a choice with their money and who they spend it with. Are you tired of being in pain every day? Try ExodusNow.com. Exodus, a natural holistic supplement that combines 2,000 years of ancient wisdom and modern science. I take it every day. I do. 7 biblical ingredients. You got frankincense, you got cumin, you got myrrh. And then you have the groundbreaking benefits of molecular hydrogen, designed to soothe joint and muscle discomfort, boost your energy, reduce inflammation. If you've got chronic inflammation, you're not alone. But you don't have to suffer anymore. Try ExodusNow.com. Try ExodusNow.com. Again, I take it every day. It really makes me feel sharp, focused, and just feel good. God bless America. I'll take a break and be right back on the Steve Gruber Show. All right, back to it now. Now, political assassinations in America are not common. They're shocking to all of us. Most of us still coming to terms with the murder of Charlie Kirk a week ago today. But in some places, sadly, they're too commonplace. Places like Iran. My next guest is Dr. Majid Sadegpour. He saw his brother arrested and later executed for opposing the regime in Iran. He joins me now. Doctor, thank you for being here. I appreciate you being here. Look, it's shocking to me when we saw this, but for you, at age 17, you saw your brother arrested. You saw your brother taken away. Later, he was executed. I mean, you've lived this horror story, haven't you?
Yes, and unfortunately, not just me, but millions of Iranians since the early part of 1981 have begun to witness a reign of atrocity by the clerical regime in Iran that includes murder, torture, and execution. So for the past 46 years, the people of Iran have been fighting to overthrow the regime in Iran, and significant carnage. Unfortunately, over 120,000 of Iran's best and brightest were executed by the regime in Iran. But
because of their political beliefs. Because of their political beliefs. So, and the reason I wanted to have you on here today is because coming up next Tuesday and Wednesday, you guys, the regime in exile, the government in exile, your folks are going to be at the United Nations in New York, coinciding with the annual UN General Assembly, September 23 and 24. The National Council of Resistance of Iran, you're going to stage a protest, and 120,000 political prisoners executed, taken away, disappeared, as they say in some countries. I mean, that's very significant. Tell me about this event in New York.
I appreciate that. So, you know, we're coming up, yesterday was the anniversary, the third anniversary of the 2022 uprising in Iran that we saw Mahsa Amini. People remember her name, but certainly it's a reminder that the Iranian people rose up 3 years ago with the goal of overthrowing this regime, and the regime is continuing the persecution and executions. Over the past 12 months since last August, when Iran's current president, Pezeshkian, took office, more than 1,600 people have been executed in Iran. And certainly the opposition against the regime is significant and is growing. I point to tens of thousands of Iranians who gathered in Belgium just last Saturday in support of Iranian resistance leader Mariam Rajavi's third option. By that she means no war from abroad against the regime, and no appeasement of the regime, and that the people of Iran are capable of bringing about this change that the international community also desires. And so in order to do that, their plight needs to be recognized. So what we're doing in New York is what we have done over the years, and certainly Iranian Americans from across 46 U.S. states will be participating. Thousands of us will be participating outside the UN to let the world know that there is a third option, that the Iranian people have an organized resistance led by the National Council of Resistance of Iran, and they are capable of overthrowing this regime. But the policy of appeasing the regime, perpetual engagement with the regime must end, and the people of Iran and the desire to overthrow this regime must instead be supported politically.
You know,
not
Doctor,
monetarily.
It seems to me and to some other folks that after the United States hit the nuclear facilities in Iran here a number of weeks ago, back in June, I believe it was, it seemed the regime might be at its weakest point since 1979. And it might have vulnerabilities at this point. And I know that during your event here, September 23 and 24 in New York, you're going to focus on that. But how close, sir? Do you think, I mean, how close, how weak is the regime today compared to a year ago or 5 years ago?
Right. This regime, first of all, is a historic, misogynist, medieval entity, but it has significant oppression machinery, and it is in charge in Iran. It is killing the number that I quoted earlier, 1,600 plus people over the past year, in order to remain in power. Powerful regimes don't kill that many people in a year. It is a weak, vulnerable regime. But the idea that a few bombs from the sky will overthrow this regime or make it go away is at best naive. What you will need to do, you'll need to have a structure, an ideology, and the know-how within the streets of Iran to undo this regime. And that is the strategy of the Iranian resistance. That is the concept behind the third option. But what unfortunately is missing at the moment is that actual decision on the part of the international community to part ways with this regime, to cut ties with this regime. As we stand today, a lot of America's allies have not designated Iran's terror machine, the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guards, as a foreign terrorist organization, even though the United States designated it more than 7 years ago. And so it is important that the international community cut ties with this regime. It is understandable that America's enemies have relationship with this regime, or why are America's friends having relationship with this regime? And that is what needs to end. That is what our call is at the UN, to support the sanctions that some of the European allies that we have begun the process of a snapback sanctions against the regime. Those are important steps that must be taken to provide the political space to the people of Iran.
So the demonstration then in New York is to get the attention of France, the United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, whomever you can get onto your side of the ledger in a more substantial way then.
Without a doubt, yes, that political support is necessary. Neither bombs from the sky nor weaponry or money is necessary to undo this regime, but really a political will and a desire on the part of the international community to actually take the side with the Iranian people, which are on the one hand trying to overthrow this regime, while the others are trying to change the behavior of the regime. And the latter must end, because the people of Iran cannot prevail as long as the people outside of Iran are trying to change this regime and engage this regime perpetually.
Right. Sir, we wish you well in your efforts in New York, and we wish you well for the nation of Iran. We'd like the nation of Iran to come back into the brotherhood, if you will, of civilized nations. We'd like Iran to come back. It's a beautiful country. Just has a terrible group of people in charge. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate it. All right, so that's happening September 23 and 24. That's part of the annual United Nations General Assembly in New York City. That's why they're going to be there. We'll have more on this next week. We've got another couple of guests we're going to have on to talk about this. And the importance of focusing on Iran, cutting off Russian oil, making sure that the people there have a chance to breathe free at some point. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something? All right, coming up, we'll continue our conversation on the political assassination of Charlie Kirk. Yeah, in Iran, they're far too familiar with it. Just too familiar with it. Sad, really. Peter Galuli from the Wellness Company, straight ahead. Welcome back to it as we work our way through this. My next guest is Peter Galuli, CEO of the Wellness Company. Been with me many, many times. The news cycles just go quickly, but in this case, they do not. Peter, good morning.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
A lot to deal with here. You know, it's been a rough week for all of us here. And one of the things we haven't talked about, Charlie Kirk, is this. During the COVID pandemic, he was one of the people that stood up and said, stop, and had alternative people on his platforms. We did it here, but he had great reach, and there weren't many. And I think we should reflect on the fact that he had the courage, because it took courage, because he got deplatformed and silenced and marginalized and all those things, and ultimately shot for his beliefs. Looking back, what do you make of it, Peter?
This whole last 7 days, Steve, is completely surreal. You know, I grew up watching Charlie, admiring Charlie. He did a tremendous public service. Charlie Kirk understood that political thought, political opinion didn't happen behind computer screens. It didn't happen on social media. It didn't happen when this mob-like mentality that occurs when people are able to hide and not show their face. Charlie understood that political thought and opinions were formed face-to-face by debating the topics out in public. He was killed for doing what he loved and what touched so many people, which was actually having constructive debates on the topics that matter. And Charlie did that right through COVID. There was no stopping Charlie Kirk. He was a lion of a man, and I think we all are in Charlie's debt for bringing these topics to the forefront and actually allowing us to debate them in public. I had the opportunity of meeting Charlie twice. Remarkable person. He was one of the first people that actually took Dr. McCullough and Dr. Harvey Reish onto his show when we started the Wellness Company. This was back when we were having trouble getting anyone to pick up the phone for us. But that was just who Charlie was. Charlie was somebody who wanted to leave a legacy of free speech and public debate, no matter where you stood on an issue. And I think we owe it to ourselves and our country, Steve, to continue that legacy today.
I agree with that. We need to engage in free speech, and if you don't like it, too bad. But you don't get the right to kill me for it. That's why America is different. I feel like we've entered a new dangerous era. Look, we've got this massive public memorial coming up next Sunday in Arizona. And it concerns me, these gatherings, because I think that for some that are so far twisted and gone that they'll look at it as a big target. And it must worry you too.
It does, Steve, but if we let fear determine our decisions, then the left is won.
Right.
Far too long with using violence as a tool. And you remember, the BLM protests. The leadership in Congress at the time actually encouraged this behavior, this looting, the rioting, the destroying of property and murdering. For what? This is exactly what the left wants. They want us to be afraid to voice our opinions. They want to apply labels, whether it's bigot, whether it's racist, whether it's a spreader of misinformation, anti-vaxxer. We can go on down the line, Steve.
Right.
But that's the tactic. If you speak out, they will try to label you and they'll try to attack you. And we have to say no. Enough's enough.
And I agree with that. And let me say this: a lot of us got pushed. I had the first two vaccines. Didn't want to do it, but my kid was getting bullied at school. Basically, she came home in tears and said, look, I want to get the vaccine. I said, why would you want to do that? Because they put you in a room, a few of you, the only ones that don't have the vaccine, and make you stay there all day. It was terrible what they did. And so we relented and did it. What a regret I have over that. But I'll tell you this about the Wellness Company. You do have the spike protein supplement that's the gold standard. If you were bullied into getting the jab or had COVID or have long COVID, this is the gold standard. So what Charlie Kirk spoke up for and how we defended ourselves, well, if you got pushed into it anyway, there is an answer. It's your spike protein supplement, isn't it?
Yeah, it's much more than a supplement. We've actually had this studied now and published in academic papers, and it does work. It's amazing, Steve, and we really want to make sure everyone knows you can heal from these decisions. And to your point, people were bullied, they were tricked, they were coerced, doing things that they should not have done. And it's not their fault. And we want to make sure people have another route to get their health back.
Yeah. We got to get your health back. By the way, I'll tell you how to do that in a second. Meantime, switching gears. there's this. There's always something out there to be concerned with, it seems to me. A new parasite out there, I'm not even quite sure how to pronounce it. Chagas is what I'm going with. Transmitted by insects, causing disease that's impacting more and more Americans. I just read about this for the first time yesterday. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's pretty gross. It's a insect, Steve, that is a small, kind of looks like a red and black beetle. It's known to bite humans primarily on the face, actually, and it
So
causes
I thought
tremendous swelling.
they called it like a kissing disease type thing, but that's not what it is. It's like biting you on the face, right?
Yeah, the kissing bug is what they call it because
Yeah.
it bites on the face. It lays eggs, and it can cause kind of long-term damage if one of these insects bites you.
I apologize to people having breakfast this morning, but it's real, and it's serious. And you guys do have a parasite cleanse as well at the Wellness Company, so we can take care of long COVID and COVID problems and parasite. You've got the best parasite cleanse on the market, don't you?
We do. We have ivermectin and bendazole, which I know we've talked about on the show before. Also, over the weekend, a high dose standalone ivermectin product, and we actually have the cheapest price per pill in the country. And it's really important to us that we give people a competitive option. Still states out there that are restricting their doctors from prescribing it, and even states like, say, Texas that want to make ivermectin over the counter. The medical boards and the federal government are still blocking it, and this is something that everybody should have access to.
Yeah. TWC.health/Gruber. By the way, anything that the Wellness Company has is available there. There's usually some discounts if you use the promo code Gruber. And all these things are important, whether it's long COVID, whether it's parasites, all sorts of other things. The greatest emergency kits in the world. I always have one on my desk to show folks. It's the greatest emergency kits in the world. TWC.health/Gruber. Peter, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, there you have it. TWC.health/Gruber. If you get bullied into having the COVID shot, take the supplement. I do. TWC.health/Gruber. All right, so there's one part of the conversation that we have not touched on very much. And that is, I've got these friends, lesbians, conservative, I'll give you that, but and gay community, people in the gay and lesbian community that are mad, really angry, that they believe that their movement has been hijacked by this transgender movement, if you will. I mean, they're really angry. I said, I've talked to these folks. This is not what I fought for. I fought for gay marriage. I fought for equal rights. I fought for being treated properly. It's not this transgender thing. In fact, they don't like it at all. Some of them, I mean, really angry. And we're going to get some of those folks on the program here to say, look, this is not what I fought for. This was not the civil rights movement I was involved in for this, mutilation of children, as they would put it. So I want to go to bite number 2 here. Nathan filling in for Anthony here today. Bite number 2 here. Matt Gutman is an ABC News reporter. He seems to think this whole assassination of Charlie Kirk is some sort of a love story, I guess. Listen to this.
An alleged murder with such specific text messages about the alleged murder weapon, where it was hidden, how it was placed, what was on it, but also it was very touching in a way that I think many of us didn't expect. A very intimate portrait into this relationship between the suspect's roommate and the suspect himself, with him repeatedly calling his roommate, who is transitioning, calling him my love, and I want to protect you, my love. So it was this duality of someone who the attorney said not only jeopardized the life of Charlie Kirk and the crowd, but was doing it in front of children, which is one of the aggravating circumstances of this case. And on the other hand, he was, speaking so lovingly about his partner. So a very interesting and, as Pierre said, riveting press conference, David.
It was tough.
I mean, really? Very touching. An intimate portrait. It was his roommate who gave him all the evidence they needed, turned it all over. Here it is, all of it. And some, reading these text conversations, me included, go look at these, read it, because they're kind of, they feel contrived. They feel like they were contrived and done to protect the roommate. More about this. And Windsor Castle, where Donald Trump is at this moment live, next here on the Steve Gruber Show. something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country.
That credibility has eroded.
She speaks from experience there, so trust her when she says people don't believe liars. We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country. It certainly is. Thank you for being here. Greatly appreciate you being here. A lot of things to talk about as we continue to process. A week on now. It's been a week, believe it or not. And here we are. So a lot to get to here. Who do you want in your Fox? We'll figure that out today for sure. Here are three big things you need to know. Number one, former Attorney General Bill Barr says he doesn't think there's any connection between President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, Bill, we knew that. Thank you for the update. Number two, the assassin who gunned down the United Healthcare CEO, Luigi Mangione, has had one of the key charges against him dropped. Will that stand? I don't know. He murdered a guy in cold blood because he didn't like the health care in America. Another political assassination from the left on somebody on the right. And number three, leading this hour is something you must know. It's different than where we've been for the past week. Something you must know. The FBI was targeting and investigating conservative groups throughout Joe Biden's administration, and probably during Donald Trump's first administration, to be honest and fair. During the Biden administration, it came at the direction of Merrick Garland and, of course, then FBI Director Christopher Wray. And I doubt that surprises you in any way. But when you hear it come out of the mouth of Chuck Grassley, the senior senator from Iowa, it seems shockingly real and shockingly anti-American. This is from a hearing yesterday. Listen to this.
Some examples of the group that Wray FBI sought to place under political investigation included the Republican National Committee, Republican Attorney General's Association, and various Trump political groups. In total, 92 Republican targets, including Republican groups and Republican-linked individuals, were placed under investigative scope of Arctic Frost. On that political list was one of Charlie Kirk's groups, Turning Point USA. In other words, Arctic Frost wasn't just a case to politically investigate Trump.
So it wasn't just to investigate Trump or Trump's people. It investigated Turning Point USA and a whole lot of other folks, myself included. I'm sure we're all on the list. If you expressed views here that were in opposition to the demands of the government during COVID, or the demands of the governor or the president during the COVID pandemic, if you spoke out against it, you were put on a list. There's no question about it. If you were a nonprofit trying to get status as a nonprofit with the IRS, you were put on a list. You were targeted. The Catholic Church was targeted. You were labeled as a white supremacist, a Christian nationalist. What does that even mean? I mean, I'm a Christian, and I believe in America. Is that a bad thing? Doesn't seem like a bad thing to me. I'm a Christian and try to do my best all the time, and so on and so forth. Hey, Nathan, can you pull in that live shot that I'm seeing here of Marine One coming in? Is what it looks like to me, is President Trump on his way, I believe, to Windsor Castle. I don't know if you can bring that in or not. President Trump is in the UK today. Apparently, they're going to sign some important deals. He's on his way into Windsor Castle, is the president. So we'll keep an eye on that. There it is. Well done, Nathan. The helicopter's coming around, and now empty sky, because the photographer there in England has lost track of what he's supposed to be looking at. That happens in live broadcast. It does. All right, so let's move on from that. Okay, good. Bite number 3. At CNN, they think promoting terrorism, it's a good thing, apparently. They do. They think nobody should be fired for saying awful things like dancing on the grave. You see, here's the problem that they don't understand. Here in the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, which is always here, well-worn, as you can see, what they don't seem to conceive of is that it's the government that's prohibited from blocking me from saying something or worshiping as I see fit or gathering to voice my complaints against the government. But if you gather in the lobby of your place of business and have protest signs, they fire you, I'm guessing, unless you have a really strange employer. And if you say things that the employer finds abhorrent, they fire you. Well, at CNN, they don't think that should happen. Let's go to bite number 3 here. Listen.
The way the playbook put it this morning is, well, for so long, especially the president and those around him have lamented cancel culture. It appears cancel culture is in fashion once again. Quickly, if you both, SC, kind of what you think of this.
It's illiberal, and it's the opposite of what Charlie Kirk would have wanted. Charlie Kirk was a debater. I didn't like what he said, and I was offended by what he said. That's all right. It's not illegal. It's not a crime to offend someone. And yeah, I think this is the opposite of what we need. And we're just as violence is the opposite of what we need to counteract speech we don't like. We need more speech, not less. When we meet speech we don't like, we meet it with more free speech. We have to debate our ideas. We have to be able to talk about the things that we disagree with. We have to do that civilly, but we can't punish people for disagreeing with us. We can't punish people for being jerks and celebrating the death of someone. That's not illegal, and that shouldn't be who we are.
You know, I agree with her for the most part on that, except I'm going to hazard a guess that her opinion, when Charlie Kirk was silenced off from Twitter back in the day and other people were targeted, like myself, back in the day for putting stuff out there, or people were deplatformed, luckily I didn't get that far, I'm going to guess she had a different opinion then. I'm going to guess her opinion has evolved to apply to current reality. You see, situational awareness, that's what it is, situational awareness and situational morality. Situational morality is worse because, well, in this case I'm for it, in this case I'm against it. It's either right or wrong. Will you pull that helicopter back in? Here's President Trump coming in live now. You can take it full if you want, take me out of there, whatever you want. There he is, the President of the United States arriving in the UK. High-level meetings on the way today from the President. I'm glad we can do this. We have a great team here. Nathan's sitting in today for Anthony. Ivy built all this technology. I gave Ivy credit. She built all this technology so we can operate like any network television station. And I think we do it better. There it is. Marine One coming in for a landing. We'll hold on this. God bless America. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Are you ready to retire? All right, back to it. Look, myth busting, it's part of what we do here. It's part of the job description, I think. I just have to take things that are completely false and say, well, let's look at the evidence. All right? What we do here, because looking at the evidence, even though some will refuse to discuss it. CBS News last night, by the way, led with a 4-minute discussion of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, saying no idea what the motive is. The prosecutor stood out there yesterday and explained exactly what the motive is. Stood out there yesterday and explained in detail exactly what the motive was. The young man had become politically active, very active, and gone far to the left, and had gotten into these Discord and Reddit chat rooms and thought that Charlie Kirk was a bigot, was a hater. One of the biggest myths out there is that Charlie Kirk was homophobic, that he hated gay people. I knew that was false. I've met Charlie many times, talked to Charlie many times. I knew that wasn't true. You see, they'll take a little snippet, they'll take it out of context, and they'll play it over and over and over. See, he's this, he's that. Here is the greatest takedown of an actual homophobe I maybe have ever seen. And the person taking them down and destroying them in front of a huge crowd is Charlie Kirk, defending the rights of people to do what they do behind closed doors. Listen to this.
All right, the amount of lies I've seen go around about this man is kind of insane. So I'm going to start debunking some of these lies. The first one is that he's homophobic, doesn't like gay people, has a problem with them, or he thinks they should be stoned. All this crazy stuff people have been saying. Watch this interaction.
So I'm going to ask a very respectful question, as respectfully as I can. What does what they do in their private life concern you so much that you have to go up in front of a crowd? And
it is against God. That is
so. Let me ask
Are
you
you a Christian or not?
Do we live in a theocracy? Yes or no? No. Do we live in a theocracy?
You said you're a Christian.
I am a Christian. And do you know what? And guess what? I will say this. Part of being a Christian is appropriately interpreting what the theological says for the individual, but also means to be long-suffering and patient and loving and kind. Jesus Christ talked to all people. Jesus Christ went and did his ministry through Judea and Samaria, and he had dinner with tax collectors, and he had dinner with prostitutes, and he did his ministry in every part of the Mediterranean. What it means to be a Christian, my friend, is to be open-minded but firm in your beliefs, so you can have that belief. But if you say there's something inherently wrong with communicating or associating just because they make different personal decisions than you, sir, are not a conservative. Thanks for being here tonight.
Boom. I mean, talk about destroying myths. By the way, the man at the front of that tape, Jeffrey Mead, will be on the program. It's either tomorrow or Friday. Did a long interview with him yesterday. We're going to air that interview. Interesting guy. You know, there is all this noise on the internet. Like people banging pots and pans together and jumping up and down and screaming in hysteria. Jeffrey Mead is one of those voices that brings clarity and common sense to the conversation. And it's wonderful to talk to him. He was terrific. We talked about Charlie Kirk. We talked about a lot of those things. And he does videos like that. I encourage you to follow him, Jeffrey Mead. Just one of those voices of clarity in a world of insanity, right? So there you go. Meanwhile, over on the left here, I'm looking at it now, they keep posting pictures of the Charlie Kirk assassin when he was with his family in Alaska, when he was camping, when he's doing all the... So what? They're showing old pictures as if if somehow that mitigates what he did. It doesn't mitigate anything he did. Anyhow. It is this argument about anyhow. So Charlie, look, He's on. Meanwhile, CNN thinks that the administration is overreacting to this assassination. The administration was overreacting to a political assassination. They've truly lost the debate. They have. Man, there's a good one I'll have it for you tomorrow. A good one that I just saw. Anyhow, rule number 7.
I mean, and I think the point as well is rarely have we ever seen an administration, and not just the president, but all of his top aides, the vice president included, act or react to a moment like this in such a deeply personal way. And that's what I think, to me, has been so striking to see, the way that they, he ordered flags to be flown at half-mast. He is going to honor Charlie Kirk posthumously with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I mean, these are things that are a very different response to what we've seen in other cases like this. I think part of it...
Yeah. Remarkable, isn't it? Anyhow. This part of the program brought to you by my good friends at PuroVet. PuroClean is a company that I learned about a year ago when my rental house caught fire and burned. A good part of it had electrical fire. Ever had a fire in your house? Not good. Shocking to me. Worst day. Because then you got the insurance company and you got all this other stuff going on. It's bizarre. And then I get a call from the owner of PuroClean and Signal. Signal is a commercial company. PuroClean is a residential company. They came to my house. The owner, Frank Torrey, called me on a Sunday, said, hey, can I help you? They're based in Michigan. My God, they've been great. Anyhow, PuroVet is a program for veterans. They put veterans at the front of the line to try to get them a franchise to help them out. You can find out more at purovet.com. Purovet.com. More from Buckingham Palace. Look at this shot going on. Donald Trump, I mean, that's quite a limo you got there, boss. I'll be right back. All right. Let's see. It's too bad. Brian Glenn, by the way, as you're watching, you can hold those pictures for a second. I mean, the UK is rolling it all out for President Trump and First Lady Melania. Some big deals being done there today. So Brian Glenn is my friend from Real America's Voice. He's the one that I fill in for. I didn't get this assignment, though. I mean, maybe I'm a little upset about it. Maybe a little jealous here. To be at Buckingham Palace and see all this pomp and circumstance and beautiful things happening, right? Anyhow, so Brian Glenn is there and said he was gonna come on with us here in 15 minutes, but said he just got yelled at because he was standing in the wrong place. That happens, You set up. He says, "Too bad. Too had a great shot." I'm sure he did. Let's see here. What is the president doing there today? By the way, he's there to sign some agreement, and I'm not sure. So what about this? This just popped up. The mayor of Dearborn, a Muslim mayor of Dearborn, told a Christian he's not welcome in a debate of honoring a pro-terror Arab leader. You're not welcome here after he quotes Jesus Christ's teachings. Mayor Abdullah Hammoud told resident Edward Ted Barnum that he was not welcome in the city after Barnum raised concerns about new street signs honoring an Arab-American news publisher, Osama Siblani. Reported the signs honoring Siblani were placed in intersections on Warren Avenue by Wayne County, not by the city of Dearborn, but the mayor escalated the debate, telling Barnum, although you live here, you are not welcome here. I'm telling you, folks, there's a problem brewing. You're here, but you're not welcome here. You're a Christian. Oh. Okay. We'll have more on this coming up. Keeping watching the take it back to something nice. Horses and stuff. It's the Steve Gruber Show. I'll be right back. You know, it's just been one of those days. But, you know, I'd like to be in England right now, wouldn't you? I'd be right there. I'd ride one of those horses right in front of the president. Mr. President, look at this. Isn't it great? Look, I got the short end of that deal. I have to talk to Brian. Brian was going to come on, as I just said. He can't make it because he got yelled at and was forced to move. All right. Joining me now, Jim Beach, entrepreneur, author of The Real Environmentalists, How Wayne Elliott and Other Capitalists Will Save the World. Really? Jim, welcome to the program. Save the world. No pressure. How are you?
Thank you for having me. And yes, I will stand by it. The entrepreneurs are going to save the world. Just like we create the jobs when we need to grow the economy, the entrepreneurs are the basis of any revival, and they are going to lead us to some sort of climate safety here in the next few years. It's a very upbeat, encouraging message that entrepreneurs can and will solve the problems of the world. While I was writing this book, I went out and met some amazing entrepreneurs. I know someone solving.
Well, hold on one second. You said something there. Climate, there is no climate emergency, not where I live. I mean, maybe it's down the street somewhere. I haven't seen it yet. I went out just yesterday and I breathed air outside. It was remarkable. I've done that every day of my life. It's weird, and I've never been worried about it. It's you know what's really weird? When I was a kid, by the middle of July, the grass in my yard here in Michigan would be like walking on straw, dry straw. It was every summer. It's been so green for so many years now, I had to go back and dig that out of my memory because my mother and I used to talk about it. My mother and I used to talk about 95 days, 95 degrees, 95 humidity. I don't see those very often anymore, but the grass is green, the crops grow, the fish swim, the birds sing. Where's the emergency?
You know, Steve, I'm not going to argue with you at all. I'm not going to be a denier either. I'm simply saying that there are environmental issues and the entrepreneurs are the people that are going to solve it, not the academics or the government or anyone like that. Certainly not the celebrities. That whatever environmental problems we do see, for example, the blob of plastics floating in the Pacific Ocean that's the size of Texas, you know, that's obviously there. We can't deny that. And the cool
that
thing
I agree
is
with. I think there's a huge problem with plastic, microplastics. These little things that are in toothpaste are a big problem. PFAS.
Yes.
These forever chemicals, big problem.
Exactly.
That's where, and I believe, honestly, that's where our energy should be focused, Jim, is on those things because those things are destructive to fish and wildlife and habitat. That I completely agree with you. Go ahead.
And I met the entrepreneur who is solving that problem and turning the microplastics into sneakers and tennis shoes. So the encouraging thing is that regardless of where you sit on the climate spectrum, a denier or a huge believer, the encouraging news is that we don't have to argue over who's solving the problem. And those are the incredible entrepreneurs of America, whether it's the microplastics or making cleaner water or recycling the ships that have to be recycled. We don't want 100,000 ships just sinking to the bottom of the ocean. We want them cleaned up and put, you know, in safe use. So all of these amazing entrepreneurs are solving the little individual problems that we know are there. I met a guy that can grow coral. Listen to this, Steve, can grow coral 50 times faster than God can. So he can go and replace the reefs that have been damaged by scuba divers. He can go in and build a whole new reef at a resort in the matter of months.
Well, here my question would be this. I'm not sure he can outdo God, but here would be my question. If he grows it 50 times faster, that's true of a lot of trees, but they're not as durable sometimes. But I appreciate the fact that he's doing it.
I don't know about the durability of it. The good thing is he can replace it if it doesn't last.
Fair point. Go on.
So we found 260 entrepreneurs just like this that are solving problems, be it the problems that we are aware of or some that I had never heard of. The encouraging thing is that I go to bed at night not worrying about the climate over, you know, the next 20 or 30 years. And I don't worry about all of the things that the mass media tells us because I've met the man, the woman solving the problem that they're complaining about today. And so it's an incredibly upbeat message that I think needs to get out there because we always talk about the academics, the celebrities, and the government and hope that they are going to solve the problem. And Steve, you and I know that the government's not going to ever solve any problems. And so we need to refocus the discussion that occurs around climate and make sure that the message of positive solutions gets out. when the left wing talks about the climate, we need to fight back with our positive message of solutions are already out there and solutions are already being used to make money for businesses.
What do you think? Well, speaking of climate here, because I think this destroys entrepreneurship when the government jumps in and says, we're going to build EV chargers, we're going to pay for windmills, we're going to pay for solar panels. I think that destroys entrepreneurship because people that might have a better idea are pushed out of the conversation. They're pushed into the ditch, basically. I think government needs to get the hell out of the way more often than not, and I do believe that. And the government will say, oh, look at this bridge we built. Right, but by building that bridge, how much capital did you take away from private enterprise that could have done something bigger and better than that bridge, right? They want to look at their trophies. Private enterprise does a better job. Go on.
Oh, I 100% agree with you there. I believe that maybe the bridge does need to be built, and the government's probably going to do a good job of that, but they're not going to solve the problems of increased number of hurricanes, whether you believe that or not. This year has been an almost zero hurricane year, so it's hard to see that that's an issue. But the idea that if there are viable solutions to a problem that we all acknowledge is there, I don't want the academics involved, I don't want the government involved, and I don't want the celebrities involved. I want a good old-fashioned entrepreneur to come in and make a little bit of profit and solve the problem very, really well. Another thing we did in the book that I think you might enjoy, Steve, is we listed the 10 biggest hypocrites of all time, the celebrities that claim that they're doing stuff and not actually doing anything. And so we used Chat GPT to rank them and come out with a list of the 10 biggest celebrity hypocrites. Some of them are politicians, but most of them are the good old-fashioned Jeff Bezos type that not only needed one super yacht for his wedding, but needed 2 super yachts for his wedding. He has one super yacht.
Did John Kerry fly in a G20 or a G24? I mean, which private jet did John Kerry use to fly in? I'm always concerned about he's old and he needs to be protected.
He deserves the very best, Steve.
Yes. Yeah, he deserves the very best. But you should have a mule cart or a donkey cart. That's what you should have. Except that you should not be allowed to own a donkey because they flatulate. I remember that lesson now. I remember. Jim, good stuff.
Good one, yeah.
If we could get bags to catch donkey flatulation as an entrepreneur, anyhow. Jim Beach, author of The Real Environmentalist, How Wayne Elliott and Other Capitalists Will Save the World. Good stuff, Jim. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Come back anytime.
Love to.
Thank you, sir. Jim Beach, everybody. That's cool. He's right, by the way. It's capitalists that build rockets and locomotives and railroads. It's true. And EVs and all those things. All right, back to Buckingham Palace. Look at that shot. Watching live, Donald Trump there, and look at me. Ooh. You got me double there, Nathan. I don't know why. You got two of me. It was beautiful. More Gruber, I say. Nathan's filling in. He's allowed to have a couple of technical, just little hiccups, I guess. All right, so I was just going through the numbers here based on what Jim said. Excuse me. Hairballs. If we could invent a cure for the morning hairball for humans, we'd be rich. Hurricane season begins on June the 1st and runs through November 30th, all right? I was curious about what he said because I'm thinking, have we had any hurricanes this year? We did. We had the one that was kind of just veered off into the Atlantic and went away. That's how many hurricanes we've had this year. 1 total. 6 named storms. 1 hurricane. The national NOAA predicted 18 named storms and 5 hurricanes. Colorado State, 16 named storms, 8 hurricanes. And to be fair, NOAA had 13 to 18, 5 to 9. So, an average season from 1991 to 2020, according to my AI little desk fiend, 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes. Right now, 6 named storms, 1. You got a couple months left. We'll see what happens. But right now, there is not much activity as far as hurricanes go. We've got a couple of months to go. We could get hit by a monster. You just don't know. All right, so while I'm on this AI thing, here's something else I want to share with you because I've been following this because I find it fascinating. I find it fascinating that the National Guard, 1,000 Tennessee National Guardsmen, are going to be going into Memphis. Right? The people on the left, the Democrats, say, well, they're not going into any red states. Well, actually, they are because they're also going into New Orleans to clean up crime. And, well, why would they do that? Well, let's talk about why they would do that. Since August the 11th, when the National Guard was deployed in Washington, D.C., a city that I'm in every month or two, the number of homicides since the 11th of August is 7. That's 37 days. Now, that's 7 homicides. Now, it's subject to being updated and so on and so forth. But if you extrapolate that out, that's less than 70 a year. That's less than 70 a year. The least number of homicides any time in the last 60 years was 88. And much more normally, it was about 150 to 200. And in some years, they had almost 500. 7 homicides, 37 days is less than 70 a year if you hold that rate. That's why you bring in the National Guard. Carjackings down almost 90%. Armed robberies are down. Violent assaults are down. Rapes, I don't know. I haven't seen a category for that yet. But the idea that you couldn't impact crime and it was a tyrannical thing to do and he was a fascist for bringing in the National Guard, nonsense. Nonsense. Balderdash, I say. The fact is it's working. Crime in the nation's capital is down. Oh, and they are going to plant flowers. They also cleaned up the massive amount of homeless tents across the parks. The parks are actually parks again. People can walk through D.C. and not worry about getting shot randomly. You know, I like D.C. pretty well. The restaurants are global. They're fabulous. Find anything you want from just about any country you want. Because like Ethiopia has a bunch of restaurants because there's about 1 million Ethiopian immigrants, legal immigrants, in Washington, Virginia, Maryland, in that general area. So you get these great restaurants. It's just a terrific place. So, the National Guard, it was announced they'll be going into Tennessee. It was announced on September the 12th. Formalized by executive order September 15th. I don't know when it's going to happen. The governor there, Governor Lee, invited them in. Memphis is deeply troubled. Memphis might be the most violent city in America. 2,500 plus violent crimes per 100,000 people. 2,500 violent crimes per 100,000 people. The highest among any large U.S. city. So the Memphis Safe Task Force will mirror the D.C. operation. Involves 500 to 1,000 Tennessee National Guard troops. Exact numbers are pending. Plus surges from the FBI, ATF, DEA, ICE, U.S. Marshals, and the Tennessee Highway Patrol thrown in just for good measure. Same thing is coming to New Orleans. Governor Jeff, and I said this on the program. I said if Governor Jeff, I said this 2 weeks ago or 3. I said if Governor Jeff Landry, who's been on this program a few times, would extend an invitation, we'll get it done. Because the Democrats are throwing around this red herring that, 8 of the 10 most violent states are red states. That's true. That part of it's true. But it's like, then you forgot to add the rest of it. And the rest of it is this. Memphis is a very violent city. New Orleans is a very violent city, right? So what you have, 19 out of 20 of the most violent cities in America are run by Democrat mayors. That's the fact of the matter. 19 of the 20 most violent cities in America, Democrat mayors. So if you look at Tennessee, if you took Memphis out of the mix, there's no crime in Tennessee to speak of. You take New Orleans and Baton Rouge out of the mix, there's not much crime in Louisiana. Not violent crime, not murders, not people getting gunned down. So you got to tell the whole story, and the whole story is that these cities have become very violent. I mean, would you go there for a football game or a baseball game or a concert at night? A baseball game in the middle of the day is different than a concert at 8 o'clock at night on a Saturday, isn't it? Something to think about. Speaking of that, sports, straight ahead.
Are you ready?
Remarkable, by the way. Piers Morgan commenting as you're watching live footage of the president at Windsor Castle and this procession, this massive display. Piers Morgan says no other dignitary has ever gotten this kind of a reception in the UK. I mean, it was an endless stream of horses and military in the full, customary regalia, all of it. Anyhow, all right, Brock, let's take sports. Go ahead.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. There was a full schedule in Major League Baseball yesterday. American League winners included Toronto, Cleveland, and Seattle. National League winners included Philadelphia, St. Louis, and Arizona. In Seattle's 12-5 win over Kansas City, Mariners catcher Cal Raleigh hit home runs 55 and 56 on the season. He broke Mickey Mantle's Major League record for home runs by a switch hitter in a season with his first homer, and then tied the Mariners club record of 56 held by Hall of Famer Ken Griffey Jr. with his second dinger. Oh, by the way, the Mariners have now won 10 straight games. There were 2 games in the WNBA playoffs last night. Seattle outlasted Las Vegas 86-83 to tie their best-of-3 series at 1 game apiece. Skylar Diggins had 26 points to lead the Storm, and Indiana took down Atlanta 77-60 to tie that series at 1. Kelsey Mitchell had 19 points for the Fever. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right. Let's keep these pictures up. This is really remarkable. You can leave the pictures up for the remainder. That's kind of cool. What does this button do? What does this one do? Anyhow, Nathan doing a fine job here. Anthony was out for a special occasion yesterday, but apparently this is unprecedented in scope and whatnot. Scope and whatnot. All right, so Block Trust IRA, right? The elites all got rich off crypto. The 28 billionaires at least from Bitcoin. What about you? Did you buy in or did you not understand it like me and said, should have bought in? I know, but it's not too late. Block Trust IRA is changing everything, bringing the crypto opportunity to real Americans like you. And Donald Trump just bought $2 billion worth for the Trump Organization, part of the America First Economic Miracle. The Anos AI trading platform runs 24/7. It has been considered the best there is. Named #1 by the crypto tech platform by Bitcoin Magazine. Right. By the way, right now you can get $2,500 in bonus crypto. Don't want to give away too much. $2,500 in bonus crypto right now when you sign up. Go find out. SteveGruberCrypto.com. SteveGruberCrypto.com. We'll leave you with more pictures.
I'm Shanola Hampton. Every day, millions of people
went over by a couple of seconds.
Yes, I was. there's always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country.
That credibility has eroded.
She speaks from experience there, so trust her when she says people don't believe liars. We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Well,
With
it
your
sure
host,
is.
Steve Gruber.
That would be me. It must be time for me to start talking right at about that point. Hey, everybody, how are you? Glad to have you here live from the Heartland. Live right adjacent to Detroit. You know, kind of a gritty place. We like it here, all right? Make sure you know that we're fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom every single day. Who do you want in your foxhole? Hopefully it's somebody like me, wanting to take a chance and speak their mind. All right, here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, has exited the National Governors Association in pursuit of bipartisanship, I guess. A review of Oxford High School, the scene of that horrific shooting November 2021. That's number two. The review there, no missed chances to save lives. And number three, real quick here today, Vice President J.D. Vance will be in Livingston County delivering remarks at Hatch Stamping. It's in Howell. The vice president expected to discuss President Donald Trump's tax cuts. Michigan, no stranger to the vice president or the president. Most recently, Vance spent time touring a Bay City plastics manufacturing facility. That was March. Of course, President Trump made a stop at Selfridge Air National Guard Base in April, delivered remarks at Macomb Community College in Warren. I was there for that one. Not quite sure if we're going to the one in Howell today, but we might. The president, as you know, is in the UK right now. Never seen anything like it, said Piers Morgan. We were following it earlier here. The procession is now over, and they've gone inside Windsor Castle. But what a remarkable show for Donald Trump. And look, it's all under this cloud of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, because free speech has been something that's been on front of mind, top of mind for people in the UK for a long time now. People over there are getting arrested for what they post on Facebook. If it might not, it doesn't even have to be offensive. If it might be considered offensive by somebody, you can be fired for that. So we're going to keep an eye on, we'll keep that split screen going for the rest of the day. We'll see. I'm sure that Donald Trump will not miss the opportunity to come out and make some comments. He will not miss that opportunity, I can assure you. All right, so the Michigan shooting that shook Oxford High School November 21. 4 students killed, 6 more, and a teacher wounded. First responders coming in. A 275-page independent review released by Guidepost Solutions, commissioned by Oakland County. So it's being released today. This report is. The verdict, while mistakes were made, the outcome of the 4 dead kids could not have been changed. Medical examiners determined the gunshot wounds were fatal. Nonetheless, investigators still found troubling lapses. The first officers inside never radioed back details about victims or their movements. Fire Command shifted its crews to a new radio channel without alerting personnel inside the school, and it took nearly 25 minutes before anyone established an incident command post, leaving resources scattered and communications strained. The report also highlights the aftermath for families. Parents spent hours waiting at a local Meijer store for news of their kids. Investigators describing the lack of a reunification plan as leaving families unsupported at a moment of devastation. Sure, there were mistakes made. But sadly, those children could not have been saved. And in light of what happened a week ago today, Charlie Kirk could not have been saved either. It was a fatal injury from the moment it happened. It was not correctable. I can just tell you that. And I knew that at the moment that I saw that, and sad that I was right, but I was right. Governor Gretchen Whitmer has left the National Governors Association, according to reporting from the Detroit News. Her office told the media outlet Detroit News that Whitmer believed the organization did not participate in enough bipartisan activities, so she left the National Governors Association. Apparently, other governors did as well. Whitmer's office divulged the information after the media out to Whitmer concerning her husband, Mark Mallory, who did not sign a document released by NGA in the name of the governor's spouses. The release urged national unity and condemned political violence after Charlie Kirk's assassination. Whitmer made no public statement about the announcement. The Atlantic reported in July that two other governors, Tim Walz of Minnesota, Laura Kelly of Kansas, also stopped. Founded in 1908, the NGA was designed to create a forum among the nation's governors to advance bipartisan policies. Although every governor is a member, governors can choose their own level of involvement. Governor Whitmer has chosen to step away from engagement this year. Each governor sets their own level of participation, said Eric Wolschlegel, a spokesman for the NGA. So Whitmer, in pursuit of bipartisanship, has left the National Governors Association. That was on Michigan News Source, by the way. Michigan News Source, by the way. Here's a story that's been sitting on my stack. I've been meaning to do it. It's been here for a week. It was here. It was here when the assassination happened, so I never got to it. But there's this virus, previously considered a harmless virus, that's been found in Parkinson's patients lurking around in their brains. Yeah, it's true. It's called the human pegavirus, HPGV. Northwestern medicine scientists have discovered this human pegavirus in the brains and spinal fluid of people with Parkinson's, but not in those without the disease. The results challenge decades of assumptions about the virus. HPGV is a common, symptomless infection previously not known to frequently infect the brain, said Dr. Igor Korolnik, chief of neuroinfectious disease at Northwestern. Surprised to find it in the brain of Parkinson's patients at such high frequency and not in the control patients. Researchers examined postmortem brain tissue from 10 Parkinson's patients and 14 people who died of other causes. The virus appeared in 5 of the 10 Parkinson brains and 0 of the control patients. I don't know. Is there something here? Are we on a path to finding what causes Parkinson's disease? Maybe. Maybe. You need to take care of yourself. One of the ways to do that is drink lots of water. Hydrate, as they say. And if you're going to drink lots of water, make sure it comes from Wolverine Water, Michigan's premier water treatment company. My good friend, Paul Mahaney, running that company for a long time. It's been around for 75 years. So is Paul, but he wasn't running it for 75 years. At any rate, it's great water. It's Michigan-made. It's Michigan people putting it in your place. If you need, look, if you're tired of the rust stains, or your water smells funny, or it doesn't taste right, get a reverse osmosis system for the not tasting right, and a blue line for all the other problems. Go to WolverineWaterSystems.com. WolverineWaterSystems.com. They serve Michigan statewide. Best water you're ever going to have. WolverineWaterSystems.com. All right, back at it now. I'm bringing in a good friend of mine, Dr. Steve Turley. It's been a week now since the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It doesn't seem to leave me. Turley, nice to see you today.
Good to see you too, Stephen. You're right. I mean, there's just everything else is just pales by comparison. Trump is in the UK right now for a pretty unprecedented summit. That's rare. You never had. This is his second time where he's getting the full official visit ceremony, and so we've not seen that before. You get one, and that's it. You're one, and you're done. He's gotten two. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant compared to what we're experiencing.
He's getting the full Monty. In fact, Piers Morgan just said that he's never seen any head of state get the treatment that we were running it live here all morning. Taking clips of it. It was remarkable. And it's like, yeah, that's great. And it is. And it's like, man.
Well, I mean, right. Well, because we have experienced the true turning point in our country. I mean, Charlie's life was prophetic. He was the turning point, and his death has become the point of no return for our country. And I think we recognize that, and no amount of pomp and circumstance is going to change that.
But here again, last night, I think it was CBS, opens after the prosecutor comes out and lays it out point by point, and his mother laid it out of his radicalization, Discord and Reddit and all these crazy, strange, black-hearted back channel things on the internet. And CBS News comes out, well, we have no idea yet what the motive is. They just laid it out for you point by point. For God's sake, tell the truth. This is why the legacy media is dying. Just tell the truth. Look, the kid, I don't know why he went this way. Yes, did he come from a conservative family? Yes, he did. And so what? He's not conservative. He was at odds with his father. They fought over dinner about these things. And then he goes and murders Charlie Kirk. The one thing, let me ask you about this, Turley. A lot of things popping up that these text messages, right?
Yeah.
Seem contrived. You know, I read that, I'm like, I can see that. Was this something to protect his roommate, his lover?
Maybe. I mean, it's so funny you bring that up because I was just watching Montel Williams.
Oh,
Do you
boy.
remember? Talk about D-list.
He's
We're
alive?
talking triple. Yeah. We're talking Z-list here. He was on CNN last night across from Scott Jennings, he was just literally face palming the entire time that Montel was speaking. And Montel was saying, well, those messages, those, Discord message or whatever they were, I mean, they obviously evidenced the fact that this was a lover's scorn. This wasn't ideology. This wasn't leftist extremism. This was a young man defending the love of his life against his MAGA father. You cannot make this. This is why Nicole Shanahan all day yesterday was talking about why she's hearing former, her Democrat friend, after she was a lifelong Democrat, of course, Democrat friend after friend after friend texting and saying, I'm done with this party.
They
gone.
are. Ivy started seeing that. Ivy started identifying it the day after Charlie was killed. She said, because here's what people were seeing in the hours after his death, dancing, celebrating, singing, and people are like, well, and these are the people we call the normies, Turley. They're not people like you and I that look at this stuff all the time. They're not politically motivated generally, but they look at that and go, oh my God, I can't be part of that.
That's more akin to Al Qaeda than America. I mean,
100%.
That's what people were doing in the Middle East on 9/11. They were dancing in the streets. Not everyone. I have to qualify everything, but no, you got it. I think we've got some stats. You're going to love this. This is from our good friend Jack over at Red Eagle Politics. Just in the last week in Pennsylvania and in North Carolina, Republican registrations have surged to 2,000. They are 4 times people registering Republican, 4 times as normal in the last 4 days than we've ever seen. In Arizona, Maricopa County alone, there have been nearly 1,000 new GOP registrations the last 3 days. One voter registration booth from Arizona reports that they are at a nonpartisan voter registration table at a small local community in a blue district. They reported that they had a number of people coming up and changing their registration. They all changed from Democrat to Republican. Something's happening here, man.
Yeah, something. Well, people aren't just moving right; they're sprinting right. They're like,
Yeah,
oh
there
my
you
God.
go. Yeah.
Look, because here's the thing. They turn on their social media and they see their neighbor, the school bus driver, the professor, the whoever, dancing in celebration that Charlie Kirk has been murdered in front of 3,000 people. I mean, what the hell is wrong with you? And people are like, whoa. I can have nothing to do with that. Nothing. And you know who else is really angry? I mentioned this earlier. I got a couple of friends, these lesbian friends of mine, right? That are conservative, whatever. They are so angry that they're tied to any of this because of the mashup with the transgender ideology. So this is not what we fought for.
Right.
That we want nothing to do with this. We fought for our rights to be married. We want to be left alone. We want nothing to do with any of this. And they're mad as hell that they've kind of been dragged in. I'm not dragging them into it. Right? I got friends that are gay. I got friends that are lesbians. Fine. And if you want to be trans, fine. Don't bother me with it, but don't ask me to think that it's okay. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, no, you got it. You absolutely got it. There have been studies on this. The fundamental difference between gay marriage and trans is gay marriage, for right or wrong, I'm just being descriptive here, but gay marriage falls within a very libertarian conception of morality that is part of the American tradition. In other words, if it ain't hurting anybody, go ahead and do it, just to each his own. What's different with the trans agenda is it's hurting people. It's hurting children. It's literally killing people. And so that's the fundamental difference between the two. So the LGBT community increasingly wants nothing to do with the T.
Nothing. They said get rid of the T.
And I'm all for it.
Yeah, look, they're friends of mine. They feel strongly about it. I support them. Red Eagle Politics, by the way, you can find them on X. I follow them, apparently. I hadn't looked at them lately. I've got to go look up these numbers you just shared with me because I need to share it with a wider audience. Turley, thank you.
Yeah, Jack does great work.
Greatly appreciated. Dr. Steve Turley, everybody, thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
There you have it. All right. We'll be right back. It just simply is not a both sides issue. This idea that it's a both sides issue. What about the woman in Minnesota? Look, I said that was terrible when it happened. That was a guy that knew her, had a vendetta against her and the senator and other people in Minnesota politics specifically. Knew her, murdered her. It was awful. This guy, this killer, Tyler Robinson, he didn't know Charlie Kirk. He'd never met Charlie Kirk, never had a conversation with Charlie. It was a political assassination because he didn't like his words. He didn't know the man. Very different. It's not a both sides issue. So don't play that crap with me. I'm not going to buy that either. I've got to find the numbers here. I need to find the numbers here that he was just talking about. I will have it. You know what? How do I find things? I do it the same old-fashioned way. I go to Supergrok and say, hey, voter registration numbers by party since Kirk's assassination. See, guys, I use it all the time. Why it helps. Ivy said, why do you do that when you're so smart. I do it only for statistics and so I do it because I can gather information a lot faster to share with you. Can you give me voter registration numbers by party since Kirk's assassination, state by state? That's my question. I'll have an answer here momentarily because that's the way this works. God bless AI, right? We'll see what we come up with. Tyler Robinson will likely face the death penalty, by the way. That was the outcome from yesterday's conversation. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. I'm going to have this for you here shortly. I will have it for you shortly. Democrat, Republican, Independent. And we're going to have newly registered. All right? We'll have that coming up as I dig a little bit. I didn't find it where I was looking at Red Eagle Politics. All right? So we'll take a break. When we come back, I've got, let's see, who do I have? Ivy's on the way, I know that, and Dr. James Hurley, president of Tarleton State University, talking about political violence in America. We'll be right back. You know, I'm going through some of these back alley tweets that have been identified. 10:49 a.m. on the 10th of September. Be very careful about what you post online. This is one of these back alley things. On September 3rd, it would be funny if someone like Charlie Kirk got shot on September 10th. LMAO. On the 6th of August, September 10th will be a very interesting day. And then this is back on August 6th. When was this tour announced? And then I plead the 5th, said this person. Here's on TikTok. Charles James Kirk, Mr. College Dropout, does not know what's coming tomorrow. Be ready. This isn't a threat, it's a promise. You know, you start to add all these, you start to add all these things up, it starts to look like a conspiracy, a coordinated effort to kill Charlie Kirk. That's what it looks like. Now, I don't know, but I did hear Kash Patel say that they got far more than 20 people they're investigating involved in all of this. Joining me now is Dr. James Hurley, president at Tarleton State University. Dr. Hurley, thank you for being here.
Good morning. Thank you.
How big is your university? Tell people where it's located, how many students. Give us an idea.
Yeah, we are Tarleton State University. We're in the Texas A&M system. We're about an hour and 15, 20 minutes south of Fort Worth. We have 21,000 students. We're the fastest growing public university in the state and among the top 5 fastest growing public universities in the nation.
21,000 students, so pretty decent size. Bigger than schools in what I would call the MAC, like Western Michigan, Central Michigan schools. I've been around my whole life. Bigger than that, I think. And so you have this event.
Yes, since 2019, we've grown from 12,000 to 21,000. So, yeah, it's by 2030, we'll eclipse 32,000.
But I don't know how many people go to Utah Valley University. But let's talk about that for a second. Schools like yours, you want to bring in speakers. You want to bring in presidential candidates or Senate candidates or senators or members of Congress or, political figures. Charlie Kirk. You would have loved to have him at Tarleton to have a conversation. How do you keep people like that safe? That's my question. How do you do it? How do you keep these people safe? I mean, being outside seems like it's off the list at this point. Am I right or wrong?
Well, no, you're right. And sadly, we saw the attempted assassination on our president. Another outdoor venue, very similar situation, rooftop, open, exposed public spaces. And if you think about colleges and universities, in particular large institutions like us in Utah Valley, and ironically, I've been on that campus a couple times. I was just on that campus last year. They are in the same athletic conference as us. We're in the WAC. You talked about the MAC. We're in the WAC. And so that very building that was shown, I was in that building with. Campuses are large, open public spaces funded by the public for public good. And to your point, institutions of higher ed should be about scholarship, not advocacy, and providing opportunities and platforms for people like Charlie and others, both and on both sides of the aisle, is part of this free speech. And that's what you want to teach students, how to civically become engaged, but have civil discourse. And sadly, we're getting away from the civil discourse.
Yeah. Utah Valley, by the way, bigger than I expected. 46,000, just over 46,000 students, Utah Valley. So,
yeah, they have a very large dual credit program.
A large, say that again?
They have a very large dual credit program where students school, they're finishing, they're starting their educational journey. So they're not necessarily on their campus.
Gotcha. But open dialogue, Dave, let me ask you this. You're in Texas, so you might have a bit of a different take Texas is pretty red to begin with. But it just seems to me, we just had some numbers shared with us. Enrollment into the Republican Party, registration into the Republican Party over the last week in several states reporting has been off the charts, unprecedented. Turning Point USA had 900 chapters officially on college campuses, 1,200 officially on high school campuses, 3,500 total affiliations that were official. They've gotten 40,000 now applications for new chapters. 40,000. What is the Charlie Kirk effect, do you think?
Well, Charlie had an incredible gift of connecting with to 20, let's call it 22 to 24-year-olds, and that's the primary base of any college university. It certainly is for us. We're still very much a traditional university where we have 5,000 beds on campus. We're getting ready to build another 4,000 beds to accommodate our growing freshman classes, et cetera. Charlie had this incredible way of connecting, and if you really watch his debates, he did it in a way that you had as many liberals as you had conservatives attending these rallies to either argue or to listen and learn, and he connected in a way that no one really has in a long time. And so I'm not surprised. We have a Turning Point chapter. We had a vigil the day after Charlie's assassination, and I want to stop there and just say that Kendall and I, our hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to his widow and certainly his two young children. As a dad of four, I can't imagine, those two little babies having to grow up without their dad, and it's just a really sad situation. So he has, and I don't think I think his legacy and his name is going to grow stronger, and I think his wife, the widow, is going to ensure that Charlie's name and legacy is stronger than ever. And I think it's going to resonate more so today than it did a week ago.
I agree with that. I think he's bigger in death than he was in life. I think more people heard Charlie Kirk speak on September the 11th than they'd ever heard previously. He said since his death, there have been billions of downloads, Doctor. Billions. At any rate.
Wow.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
That's only going to grow.
Yeah, it's only going to grow. Billions of downloads. More people hear Charlie Kirk, the late Charlie Kirk, than they heard him during his life. He has incredible impact. Doctor, thank you for being here. I got to run. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. We got Ivy around the corner here as we wrap out this Wednesday on the Steve Gruber Show. All right, we were watching it live earlier here, and what a remarkable reception. It's the second state visit for President Trump in the UK, but it was just off the charts. Ivy's here, but she was watching it as well. Ivy, good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
And you were listening to Piers Morgan saying never has he ever seen anything like this previously for any person, including previous presidents. It's remarkable. Well, why? What's going on?
Well, this is President Trump's second visit to the UK for this meeting with the King. Prior to that, the Queen. And he had actually said that it's in terms of rolling out the red carpet, putting on a show, he's never seen anything quite like it, just unprecedented.
Yeah.
I know that term is generally overused, but in this case, it is accurate. And so I think that there's a lot of things happening here. I think the UK definitely sees how important it is for the countries to come together and work together. I know the president is actually there to sign an agreement for technology, and actually, let's see here.
Some big tech deal,
yeah. So it's regarding a partnership. The partnership will focus on key technologies, including artificial intelligence, semiconductors, telecommunications, and quantum computing. Cutting-edge technology such as AI and quantum computing will transform our lives, said a UK Secretary, Liz Kendall. Anyhow, so executives from NVIDIA, OpenAI, BlackRock are all going because there's going to be a tremendous amount of investment in UK to kind of, I think, bolster their technologies there, which in turn, helps the U.S. economy because these are U.S. companies. But a lot happening there. I know today it's just kind of a, putting on a show, big dinners, lots of wine, incredible food, and then tomorrow really starts more the negotiations of getting down to the nitty-gritty of what's going to happen. But I think about the UK and in terms of it's having a tremendous immigration problem.
It is
as well, and you saw that. I think it was something along the lines of some are reporting 1 million people.
Turned out for Charlie Kirk.
Turned out for a lot of the same ideals that Charlie Kirk stood for in terms of, hey, you need to have a closed border. You need to make sure that you're taking care of the people in your country.
Borders, language, and culture. Borders, language, and culture. Borders,
correct.
Language, and culture. Go ahead.
And so, there's this rise in protest against the government because they do have a problem. They have a huge crime problem in London and around the country. But, I think that we take for granted here the First Amendment because there have been so many stories that I have read about people who are posting things on X or posting them on social media. I think it was like a mother of 3 posted something against the government, and she was arrested and could serve up to a 3-year term.
Yeah, horrible.
And so
because of what she posted on Facebook, because it might offend somebody. This is stupid.
Right.
It's got to stop. That's why I say often, you've heard me say it 1,000,000 times, Ivy, the First Amendment is the envy of the world. Everybody wishes they had the ability to speak like we do. But it's not without consequence. Charlie Kirk paid with his life for speaking his mind. Others have lost jobs, and others still are rejecting the Democrat Party because of the celebrations. You were the first one to mention it to me. You said, I'm seeing this activity on social media where people are saying, I want nothing to do with this. And I don't know if you heard Dr. Turley here just a little bit earlier on the program, said the same thing, seeing this massive wave of people saying, I want nothing to do with the Democrat Party. I want nothing to do with these people dancing on the grave of Charlie Kirk. It's sickening.
Yeah.
And this massive movement. Your thoughts?
We've talked to a lot of people, too, that had said, I can't hate that much. It takes a lot of energy just to have that much hatefulness.
Oh, good Lord. And we call them the normies, the people that aren't generally involved with politics like you and I are, the normal people that go about their life and don't, stick glued to political websites and so forth.
Sure.
The normies are like, down, I'm dying. It does take a lot of work to hate that much. You're right about that.
Right. And the UK does have a lot of red tape in regards to, you can censor, if you have deemed hate speech online, they can arrest you. They knock on your door. They, say, hey, we're going to arrest you for what you said. Here's your post.
Unbelievable.
And you wonder about the policing. It's like, that's probably not the best use of your time when there's actually real crime going on. But it actually makes me think about what Pam Bondi had said yesterday and others in in Washington are trying to say, hey, we need to put something up for hate speech and
Yeah,
things like
Pam
that, or
Bondi can go
propaganda.
ahead. Yeah,
But
she
this
can
is
resign.
the thing.
She can
It is
resign.
an
Done with her.
extremely slippery slope, because if the Democrats were to win the presidency, things like that, then, who is going to be the determiner of what is hate speech, propaganda, etc.?
Yeah. You want to
we
be
talked
like
about
England?
yesterday.
You want somebody pounding on your door at 3 in the morning and
Exactly.
arresting you for some post you made on X or Facebook
Exactly.
or TikTok or whatever?
Right. And
No.
I have said I'm actually grateful for the things that we can see online, because it can tell you right away what that person stands for, either decency or not,
Right. Are you decent
good
or not?
or not.
Yeah.
And so I think it's actually a good thing to be able to put it out there, to know what people represent, to know what organizations represent, so you know whether you want to support them or not. And so, yeah, I think it's absolutely slippery slope.
Yeah, absolutely terrible.
But, and on a side note, I do want to share a funny story I read, because I just want to lighten up just a little bit.
All right.
A guy in Canada gets arrested. He is driving his roommate's daughter's Barbie car.
The little electric Barbie car.
He's drunk, driving the Barbie car to the gas station to get a Slurpee, because he's hammered and wants to decide if he wants a Slurpee.
Yeah, drive off, Ivy. I mean, you're right. And you know what? We have to have some humor. We have to have some lighter moments. We can't just get into this spiral of darkness. So,
Note to self.
Driving the pink Barbie car to the 7-Eleven to get a Slurpee while you're hammered.
We'll get you arrested.
We'll get you arrested.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
That's
what a
it.
sight to see. Could you imagine driving down the road?
I saw the picture.
What in the world is this grown man doing?
He's all humped up into a little tiny steering wheel. Good Lord.
He was desperate, apparently.
Yeah, well,
I wonder how far he lived. Like, was it walkable?
No, I'm not worried about how far he lived. I'm wondering how much he drank.
Right.
How much liquor did he actually have anyhow?
Yeah.
Ivy, thank you. Love you.
I love you too. Thank you.
All right. We'll take a break and be back. Tired of hard water? All right. I'm looking at the registration numbers. It's true. The surging of registration in North Carolina, Florida, elsewhere, all favoring Republicans by wide margins. More and more people coming to the conclusion that the shooter had to have help. Shooter had to have help the way it's done. Don Lemon, meantime, the former Chicken Noodle News anchor who's desperate to be relevant, will say outrageous things just to get clicks. And he says, we don't care about Charlie Kirk. We're just doing it for clicks. You and me, we don't care about Charlie Kirk being murdered in public in front of 3,000 people, in front of his wife and children. We don't care about that, says Don Lemon. We're just MAGA, and I'm not really MAGA. I'm just me. I've never been a member of any political party, to be clear. I've never been a Democrat, never been a Republican, never been registered as anything, except as an American and a human being. But he says the only reason MAGA is doing it is for clicks. This is how demented, twisted, and lost Don Lemon is. That's why Don Lemon is a twit, and will always be a twit. Let's see here. The murderous left. The murderous left. Meanwhile, over on MSLSD, Brandy Zadrozny says MSNBC said there that Charlie Kirk was a right-wing agitator and that leftists are not celebrating his murder. I'm sorry, what planet does she live on? The good news is we've got X, we've got places where you know what's going on. You see it, I see it, we all know it, we reported here, we tell you the truth. Don't be misled by MSLSD or any of these other twits like Don Lemon. Fight the good fight, keep the faith, God bless America. I dedicate this program to Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA. Why not? They're going to continue the fight. TPUSA.com, by the way, if you want to check it out. And SteveGruber.com. Check that out. Remember this, my friends.
All right. I know you got to go.